Welcome, my dear viewer, from wherever you are watching. This is Berumba Live TV, and of course, it's our very humble opportunity to give you a very lovely discussion this afternoon on basic human rights. And of course, to this afternoon, I'm privileged to have one of the most vibrant and, of course, a very active human activist, none other than Audiogada. Is also a voice for the voiceless. Before we start this show, allow me to give him some few moments to just say a word. Yes.
Good afternoon, viewers. My name is Audi Ogada. Audi Ogada is a resident of Kisumu. A family, I'm married and with my kids. All of us are staying in Kisumu. Besides that, I'm an advocate of right and interest of residents, including defending the rights of humanity. Yes.
Thank you so much. Now, my dear viewer, as they say that actually knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave, and that is why this afternoon we are here to discuss and also to have a civic education based on human rights. Whether you're a youth, you're a father, you're a mother, you're a child, you're a student, it doesn't matter which position you're holding in the society. It is very good to know your right, or rather basic right. Now, that is why we're going to discuss today, what is your rights? Do you really understand your rights? Now, feel free to join us in this discussion, and of course you can actually send us your SMS and of course your views on the number that is actually displayed on the screen, or you can also just comment on our page, on our Facebook page on Berumba Live TV. You can also get our works on our Berumba Live TV. Feel most welcome, and of course participate fully, and of course this program is for you and for all of us. Yes, Mr. Audiogada, let's now talk about the basic human rights that actually an individual is supposed to know, rather to have in his fingertip.
Viewers, basic rights are actually defined in three components. One is clothing. Two, you must access health care. And three, of course, education. Those are fundamental rights that all human beings, as they are born, they must have those rights, and those rights are not given. If you look at our constitution, the Progressive Constitution 2010, the largest chapter, that's chapter 4, is where all these rights that we are talking about derives from. In fact, Article 19 is telling us that right is not given by the state or anybody. Rights is what we are born with and we die with as individuals. So we may have collective rights, but basically each and every individual or human being has a right, even from this time of conception. Even when you are still in your home, in the womb of your mother, your rights start from there. So it is provided, and the most important part of right is right to life, right to education, right to clean environment, rights of freedom, and of course there are several other rights. That is what the Constitution is telling us, and it is the responsibility of the state. It is the responsibility of the state to ensure that those provisions are provided. As some of these provisions are being devolved, especially when we talk about health care, our county government have a right to ensure that all human beings, all citizens, all voters within respective counties have all these provisions of rights. Right to clean environment, I want to repeat again. Right to ensure that health care, including productive health care, those are essential, that must be given to any citizen. That is what the Constitution is telling us, that government has the provision, has all the power to give it to residents. Yes.
I just want to take this opportunity to take my viewer on Article 19 that actually reads Rights and Fundamental Freedoms, which say the Bill of Rights is an integral part of Kenya's democratic state and is the framework for social, economic, and cultural policies. The purpose of recognizing and protecting human rights and fundamental freedoms is to preserve the dignity of individuals and communities and to promote social justice and the realization of the potential of human beings. Clause 3 says, the rights and fundamental freedoms in the Bills of Rights belong to each individual and are not granted by the state. B, do not exclude other rights and fundamental freedom not in the Bills of Rights but recognizing or conferred by law except to the extent that they are inconsistent with this chapter. Now, our major concern is that whatever is actually being indicated in our constitution, is it really observed? Now, we might find that in a society that those of us who perhaps might be infringing the rights of one another.
If you go further to Article 20, Article 21, all the way, the implementation of those rights are clearly stipulated in those articles. If you go to Article 22 specifically, where the rights, any Kenyans can go to a court of law, Article 22, you can read it, you have it there. Article 22 gives all the Kenyans the right to go to court and challenge and claim that his or her right has been infringed, threatened, or so. Article 23 of the same constitution gives the court the powers and authority to ensure that they deal with cases of violation of rights. That is specifically Article 23. Remember, you can go to court under Article 258, the general provision, but Article 23 is specifically dealing with rights of any Kenyans. That when your right has been infringed or breached by any Kenyans or by any government, state or non-state agent, you can go to court through those two critical articles, 22 and of course 23.
Yes, if you just allow me to read that Article 22, it reads, every person has the right to institute court proceedings claiming that a right or fundamental freedom in the Bill of Rights has been denied, violated, or infringed is threatened. In addition to a person acting in their own interest, court proceedings under Clause 1 may be instituted by a person acting on behalf of another person who cannot act in their own name. B, a person acting as a member of or in an interest of a group or class of persons. And then C, a person acting in the public interest or an association acting in the interest of one or more of its members. Yeah, that is actually, when I just do a briefing there, that is what it talks about there.
So maybe it is clearly under that particular chapter that any Kenya, as an individual, as a group, as association, or in the public interest, that is where most of human rights defenders comes in, because it gives them the power under that article. And in fact, if you go back to Article 3, it's also where any member of the society can challenge or claim a right to another. And Article 3, where we uphold, defend, and respect the Constitution. Uphold, defend, and respect
the Constitution.
So if any Kenyans come to maybe a complaint is brought to you that the right of a person is violated, you, as a defender of the Constitution, as a Kenya who respect the Constitution, as a Kenya who uphold the Constitution, under those provisions, you still can stand firm, you, me, and all these other people, to defend that right. So it is provided that anybody can defend the right of another. It is not the way that it has been perceived that you must be a lawyer. No, those provisions is not clearly saying about the lawyer. It is any person.
Yeah, and allow me to engage again, my viewer. If you're just joining right now, we're having here Honorable Audiogada. This is a very vocalist, human activist, the voice of the voiceless, and of course that is why we are doing this civic education, at least to equip ourselves with the basic human rights. Now, I'm seeing if you have Joseph Kasuki saying watching from Kajiado, Nikondani, Dani, thank you very big. Feel most welcome. Now, we want to talk now about the rights that is actually affecting us. Mr. Audiogada, if you will agree with me, during the onset of Corona, actually, people were really devastated. And I want to get the rights between the tenant and the landlord, because we really saw when many people were actually devastated, other people were actually evicted from their houses. And of course, when this was actually happening, there was nobody to stand for them. And of course, we really saw how this was really a problem. What can we talk about that? It's a problem that is affecting very many people.
The land, we call it the Tribunal Land Act 2013, gives both the tenant and the landlord the rights. One of the rights that the tenant has is that he should not be harassed. It is a primary requirement that tenant need not be harassed by a landlord. It also gives the tenant the right to make sure that he pays his rent as per the agreement that he or she has made with the landlord. The landlord has also a right to be given his rent promptly, but he's also being cautioned under the Land Tribunal Rent Act that he cannot also harass, intimidate, or threaten a tenant. This is what the law talks about. So none of them has a right that supersedes the other. None of them. And you can ask Kenya to Google the Rent Tribunal Act. These are things that we do bring those complaints. So we are versed with them without even making reference to that.
To a situation whereby a landlord has actually taken the belongings from a tenant forcefully, because he or she is actually failed to submit the dues, or to what extent should now the tenant
has completely no right to simply walk into a tenant house and either remove his things or maybe lock the door. We have even have cases where the landlord comes with some people, they even break the door, they even remove some high-on seat from we have seen all these things. It is procedural, it is illegal, it is not provided. What you can do is to give a notice to this particular tenant, a notice that must be deposited to Land Tribunal office, the nearest. They must have a copy that you have given your tenant, a notice that is required, which is not less than 1 month notice. But it must be an official notice that is being deposited by the Rent Tribunal department. In case of that you have failed to adhere to the provision of the notice, then the landlord can go to court, and court will give the landlord orders. And of course, he has to prove that the tenant has failed and all the due process, all the effort has been made, and he has refused. He will be given an order to come and evict the tenant. Again, eviction must also be procedural. It must be very specific, it must be served, it must be carried at the time of eviction. Yes, these are rights that are given. It means that I'm not saying that the landlord cannot evict you. The landlord can evict any tenant, but the procedure of eviction is clearly spelled as I've stated. It is clearly spelled. So there is no shortcut in removing your tenant. There is no shortcut in you as a tenant refusing to pay your monthly rent. You have to. You also have to pay other. We also have other charges like electricity, water, and also. So you find some of the tenants actually are the ones that are supposed to pay even the electricity. In other words, that you have gone to a plot where the meter is in the name of the landlord. The landlord does not allow you to have your own meter. So again, you must also ensure that by the time you are leaving, you must ensure that all those outstanding charges are paid. So there is no shortcut about that.
Thank you very much. I'm actually having Henry Okage from Sky FM. He's saying, I say hello to the Honorable Audiogada. Now, there's also a concern here from the page. This is from Kaswako. He's asking that I was actually, during the pandemic, I was actually evicted by my landlord after failing to pay my rent for 3 months, and then the worst part of it, he came and collected my seat.
We have seen such kind of cases, but let me tell you that most of such cases which have come to the public domain have actually been addressed conclusively through the support of a popular initiative where we are engaging. And I want to say that quite a number of human rights defenders, Wakina Betty Okero, Wakina Easter Chie, they have come to assist this kind of people who are being evicted, especially during this pandemic time. There was a mother, one in Manyata, I remember the case. There was another one in Kilo. There has been several of them, but we were able to come in so that we allow the landlord to follow the due processes of eviction. And that due process is he must serve the landlord, the tenant, with a notice of vacation. So we had such kind of landlords who have actually been mad about their client, but those are ignorant. Those are ignorant landlords. If you take them to court, if you take such a landlord to court, I'm telling you, it will take time. It will take time, but finally, you are right. You will actually, the tenant, the landlord will compensate you for damages, for harassment. There are several others. It depends on what are going to be your prayers in court. Yes, you can have so many prayers. One of them that you harass, some of them you lost some of your belongings. There are several others. So, yes, if you go to court under Article 22 of the Constitution and claim and prove, yes, the landlord will have no option but to compensate you for the damages if any damages occurred. And even for failing to give you a notice, it is an offense and it can be charged. It can also
For failing to give you a notice.
Of course, he has to give you a notice, which is clearly stipulated under the Tribunal Land Act that it must not be less than a month. It must be the least you can give is a month, but the highest is 3 months. So it depends on what kind of notice.
Yesterday I just saw a letter that actually you did write to me on the issue concerning the business people within around Kisumu City, and of course they applied to her. They have actually been harassed, and of course you as a human activist, I would just ask you, like, what are the rights? Do you think, like, now the Mambogas there actually, do they really know their right? Because some of them really feel like they are harassed, but they do not know where to begin or where to start now.
So these harassments, what type of harassment? There are several. Some of them are being harassed for failing to pay the tax. Some of them are being harassed just for them to be removed on their places where they're actually selling these wares. So that harassment, what is the nature of the harassment? If it is failing to pay the tax, then the primary objective of collecting tax by the government or the county government is to give the same tax back to the people, the same people that are paying this tax. This tax is supposed to come back to you in terms of service as the county, if it is maybe the county government, as the county given services that are required there. Are there water there? Are there lights there? Is the area in that place clean? Is it a gazetted market or it is not gazetted? All these things, you cannot collect tax in a non-gazetted place. It is wrong. It is unlawful. the county government or the government must gazette all the areas that they want to collect their taxes. It must be gazetted. And therefore, I want to believe that if no services are given to these hawkers or to these people, Mamamboga and all this, then they have absolutely they have no reason to pay the tax. That tax, and that is what it is. And if you look at why do we have a government, countries globally have to come together at each individual country to form a government, collect tax for that government, and those, whoever we are calling a government, whether it's a president, a minister, or name them, we call them either state or public officers, they are acting on behalf of the people, and their role is for the people. And in case they are not doing it, it is the same people who has the powers to ensure that the people that they have given them the right to take responsibility on their behalf are mismanaging, are stealing, are not actually giving the services. They have all that power.
Vidal, can you tell my boy to adjust the volume on Mr. side? Now, I would also want us to look another angle now. This has actually affected most of, especially the youths. Now, you find like now, there's a right for a child to actually go to education. In terms of now, recently during COVID-19, really so into it. Many school-going children were actually impregnated. And of course, last time when we were with you at Royal Victoria, remember you were handling a certain case where a parent had refused to pay fees for the child. And so they want to look at this basic right. If at all a parent will actually refuse to do this, and there is a child is actually also would want to continue with his or her education, what are the legal laws, or rather what can he or she do to ensure that he or she also enjoys the right?
Right of a child or right of any Kenyans is again clearly spelled in the Constitution, that a child has a right. In fact, if you look at that provision, a child has a right to be given a name and nationality. That's the number one. That's the basic right of a child, number one. Two, that child has to have a basic education. In fact, it's compulsory education. When it's the word compulsory, it simply means it is the state to give the child or ensure that the child goes to school. The child has a right not to be subjected to any kind of violence. The child has a right to ensure that he is provided with medication. The child has a right to all the basic needs that that child, whether she or he, require. So these are provisions that are clearly provided in the Constitution under the Bills of Rights. And any government, I'm telling you, if a child goes to a court of law today and claim that he is not going to school and that his parents cannot support because they cannot support education, then it is the responsibility of the state to ensure that child goes. But in case the parents, the neglect in part of the parents, they are able, they are capable, and they cannot, then those parents are liable to be charged for neglect of a child. So the issue of child right is something that cannot be compromised under anything. The government has the total responsibility. Parents, mother and father, has total responsibility. And if you go further, you will realize that both the mother and the father have to share the responsibility 50-50. I give birth to a child by a girlfriend or a wife, and then we divorce, that does not take the right of that child away. Divorced or we live as a wife and a woman, I have 50% to ensure that this child is given provision. The mother of the child has 50% provision of ensuring that her part is done. So as the law stipulate, it is 50-50. So there is this perception that when a woman works from you and he goes with the child, we will take care of I think it is misleading. It is not in the Constitution. It is 50-50.
Yeah, and there is also another notion whereby you will always find men will actually lags behind, because there is always a cliche on the air that now when, or for example, you engage yourself in a relationship and then of course you find a child, and then the father of a child will definitely refuse that is not the child, then a lady will take this young man to feed her, right? Then feeder will give a ruling that now almost 70% of your salary will actually be taken to the other woman. Now when a woman also has moved with another man, this man will still have to support this child the other side. Yeah. Do you have something to say on that?
The law,
is it 50-50 or a man has to do it more?
The law is very clear that in case there is dispute from a man that child does not belong to me, it's simple. We give, go to DNA. DNA will confirm. In fact, if the child is mine, don't even waste time to take course time and all this. You just say that the child is yours, but you are capable or you are unable. But then in case, no, not everybody who is giving birth to a child has some work to do. But the law in its own did say that you have to take responsibility. So you don't need to be irresponsible to the extent that you are making a woman to conceive and then you later fail to take provision. So again, the law is very keen. Yes, until you prove that I Mundi or I Audiogada, I cannot provide for my child. The child is mine, but again, it will be looked into seriously, and it will be at the discretion of the court to make a decision on how that particular child will be assisted. But honestly, as per the law, whether you have no work to do, whether you claim to be poor, in fact people just claim that you claim to be poor, still you still have the responsibility of taking care of your child, because if you know you are poor, you should have not recklessly behave in a manner
suggesting that you want a child. Now allow me to engage my viewers here. I'm seeing we have Joseph Kasuku, feel most welcome. We also have Matthew Sorwa. He's saying studio la Koro Manyuru asante sana, thank you very big. And then naona kama tuko na Henry Frederick is saying watching from Kisumu and kindly, thank you very big, we've done that, asante sana Henry Cheng. Then tuko na Malela Ben anasema kwamba thank you very big, we've adjusted the sound. Pence Kenya anasema kwamba super studio with my favorite background color, thank you very big. Anasema kwamba I disagree with you somewhere. How many children out there have such incapable parents and their rights to education is still not taken care of by the state? Then Justice Adoy is saying great indeed, watching from Studio B. Thank you very big, Justice Adoy. So he's saying that he's kind of disagreeing with you that
it is true that we have many children that are outside there, that their parents.
And also Chunga, the storyteller, has also said nice. You're doing a nice job.
What is coming up, I also agree with him. Does he disagree with me? I agree with him.
You agree with him?
Disagree with him. Yes, it is very important for me to agree with him. Yes, we have many children that are really suffering. They cannot access education, but yet their parents are people who are able, and even some their parents are unable. Whether able or not able, the future of this child where is the future of this child? Can we now say that the parents are able as they are, but they have refused to take responsibility about the child? Is that the end of that child, the future of the child? That is, we must go beyond that and look at it. If this particular child that their parents are able comes up and goes to the gender desk, in fact, if you look at Article 59, where we are creating the national human right and the gender equality, if a child goes and make a complaint that here I am, or if it's a child that is below 18, the child can be still represented. The law allows for any Kenyans to represent that particular child, so that he go and claim that this child has been neglected by the parents. I want to tell you, if this matter goes to court, this child will get his or her right, irrespective of who the father is. So, yes, there are many. Have we brought their cases forward? That is where the problem is. Just like many cases that we are losing because people are not coming up. But when this matter is brought up before any court of law, and you can engage any judge, he will tell you they have a duty, a responsibility to ensure that that particular child's future is protected, and that child must begin her or his right. So, yes, they are there, but then do we bring them up? We are not bringing them up. Can we have a case study?
Meaning that cases have not been brought.
That child can
board.
go to Kenya Law Society. That child can go to Kenya Human Rights Commission. That child can go to even directly to court and claim and allege the child will be assisted. It is a mistake for the caller who knows those kind of children and they are not bringing them up. Let that child be brought up. Let the case of that child be brought up. I want to say today, if you air that the situation of that child here, even as we speak, the next hour, every constitutional officers will come in and the child will get that. Blow it up. Yes, that is not a defender of the Constitution. The guy who is not disagreeing with me. Let him be a defender of the Constitution. Let him stand for that child. Let him stand for that family. Let us have that case brought to the attention of any media or any officers that I've mentioned. The child will be assisted, because that is what the provision of the law talks about.
There's another one is saying, what does it take to take such matters forward? Many Kenyans have that fear for heavy funds spent in the due process. Can you advise if this is not the case, please?
Under Article 22 of the Constitution, you can read. Under Article 22 of the Constitution, it is basically the right of Kenyans to go to that Constitution. And under that, if you go to court under that Article 22, leave alone the general provision of Article 258. In fact, if you look at Article 258, the general provision, yes, when you lose a case, then of course you will have to be liable for some penalty. But when you go to Article 22, there is no penalty, and you can read. And that court, the court that is constituted under Article 23, you read both those two articles.
Okay.
The viewer can benefit
Now,
from.
this is what Article 22 reads. Clause 1, every person has the right to institute court proceedings claiming that a right of fundamental freedom in the Bill of Rights has been denied, violated, or infringed, or is threatened. 2, in addition to a person acting in their own interest, court proceedings under Clause 1 may be instituted by a person acting on behalf of another person who cannot act in their own name, b, a person acting as a member of or in the interest of a group or class of persons, then c, a person acting in the public interest, or d, an association acting in the interest of one or more of its members. Then 3, it says the Chief Justice shall make rules providing for the court proceedings referred to in this article, which shall satisfy the criteria that a, the rights of standing provided for in Clause 2 are fully facilitated, b, formalities relating to the proceedings, including commencement of the proceedings, that the court proceedings are kept to the minimum, and in particular that the court shall, if necessary, entertain proceedings on the basis of informal documentation. C. No fee may be charged for commencing the proceedings. Then D. The court, while observing the rules of natural justice, shall not be unreasonable, restricted by procedural technicalities. And E. An organization or individual with particular expertise may, with the leave of the court, appear as a friend of the court. And then lastly, the absence of rules contemplated in clause 3 does not limit the right of any person to commence court proceeding under this article, and to have the matter terminated by the court.
It is clearly now the worry of our viewer, the gentleman who disagreed at some point, can now benefit from that there is no fee that you will be charged for that. So the worry,
like I feel like my member here was actually trying, okay, just to put in Alema's language, like there are a lot of corruption and a lot of processes when you want to follow. Maybe perhaps you have a case, so for you to present your case till it be heard, you shall have used a lot of money that is actually going to encourage you. Now, that is why actually discourages a lot of so many victims.
And that is where a number of non-state and state actors are stepping in, like FIDA. They will act on behalf of that particular complainant. Of course, they are funded by either the donor, or some of them are getting money from just purely for that state. But again, Kenya National Commission of Human Rights, which is a body that is funded by the government, the funding is basically for such kind of cases. So people should not get worried. And in fact, that's why we have lost a number of good cases, because people fear, people don't know what they're doing, they're supposed to do. And you can see those progressive articles in the Constitution that gives freedom to any Kenyans, any. It doesn't matter who you are, it is any, and you have clearly read the same. So outside there, gentlemen and women and Kenyans, please bring up the issues which violate the rights and dignity and the freedom of Kenyans. If you come across one, please come up. We are here to assist you. We are here to let you know the step that you need to take. But I want to repeat that there are several organizations, IMLU being one of them. I remember I brought in a number of cases to IMLU, and they have done very well for quite a number. I have presented a number of cases to Kenya Law Society. Of course, they are also funding cases without payment, and so many other organizations up. So the only important thing that we are asking, can you come up so that we assist those vulnerable, those kind of cases that really Kenyans need to step on. As for the corruption, yes, it's a big issue in our country. It's a big issue in our country. We know there is corruption, but that will not stop Kenyans from coming up, from raising their challenges, from actually going to court to seek for justice, because it is only a court of law where you can get justice through a fair trial, which again is in Article 47 of the Constitution. If you read Article 47 of the Constitution, fair hearing must be given to people who are going to make complaints that their right has been violated. But again, under Article 50, you can also see what is in Article 50. All those things are there. All these things are there. We as Kenyans, please let us come up so that we raise these issues. It is the responsibility of the state. It is the responsibility of us as Kenyans to defend the Constitution.
Yes, thank you very big, Mr. Audiogada. Now, if you're just joining the discussion, this afternoon. We're actually having a very powerful and, of course, the voice of the voiceless, none other than Audiogada, a human activist, and that is actually taking us through the basic human rights. And of course, we thought it very, very wise as Birumba Live TV to bring this civic education to most of our viewers, to most of our members who perhaps might not know that they also do have a right that actually can help them in one way or another. Now, Mr. Audiogada, currently we've been having a number of arrests because of curfew, because of the mask, and so many other things. Now, do you really think that also, as a culprit, perhaps you've been arrested by a policeman, and we've actually gotten so many blames, so many claims actually going to the police officers because of the harassment? Now you find they actually they do a lot of so many arrests, and of course the people that are being arrested, as somebody is also going to be arrested, do you have a right, or how is the process?
The right of a suspect when you are a suspect.
When you're a suspect,
you retain all your rights. You retain all your
because
rights.
First of all, when they have realized you're a suspect, the next thing is some slaps and beatings and everything. You're being harassed that much.
If you go to National Police Service Act, because they are the implementer of this, if you go to the National Police Service Act, Schedule 5, and if you come to the Constitution, Article 49, which you can read again. In fact, the Article 49 and Schedule 5 of the National Police Service Act is what is in the National Police Service Act, that if you are suspected of any crime, you retain all your right. You have a right to be informed promptly at the time of arrest why you are being arrested. You have a right to be taken to court within 24 hours. You have a right to be given all the provision that are required. You have a right to access your lawyer or any. In fact, the Constitution is saying anybody who is of a provision of assistance, it is not necessarily the lawyer. So when somebody is arrested, he has to be told why. He has to be booked in an OB. He has to be taken to court within 24 hours, unless it is on a Friday, on days that are not actually official days. But more importantly, that the police are clearly told in the National Police Service Act, Section 49, the National Police, where their powers is driven from, that if they are conducting their functions and mandate, they must conduct them within the provision of the law. This is provided in Article 238. You can look at Article 238 and Article 239 of the Constitution. That the police must always conduct themselves in total compliance to the rule of law. So it is simply saying that either you are a police officer, you are also subjected to the rule of law. So when you are arresting, you are making arrest, make sure that all the rights of the suspect is respected. And if you fail to do so, then you are unlawfully conducting your function and mandate, which you can be charged in a court of law personally for criminal offense. So that is where we are saying. Now for the mask, yes, the COVID protocol has a number of policies that has to be implemented. One of them, that you have to put the mask to, you must also wash your hand. You must ensure that if you are a matatu, you carry some number of passengers, which again is both violated by the police mainly. You walk, we can now take my car now and we go even up to Tonglo here. You will see that is the police implementing COVID. Are they stopping the vehicle, checking whether the people in the vehicle are wearing masks? Are they stopping vehicle and checking whether people are sitting 3 or 2? Matatu is still full, and the police are on our roads, and many roadblocks have been erected in these places. But if you look at the eye of a police officer as you are facing them, their eyes is not even looking at the vehicle. they are not even looking at the inside of the vehicle, they are looking at the hands of a conductor. So that hand, if they don't see it, you have a problem. So it is the between, and that's what they are implementing. Those are the gaps. Those are the gaps, my brother. And when Kriegler came in, one of the recommendations of Kriegler was that both the public and police, we must change the culture and attitude of both the civilian and the police, because, for example, this one of traffic, it is a deal that is compromise. It is between the giver and the taker. But then the taker has more responsibility than the giver. The taker has more responsibility because he is the implementer. So he cannot enjoy the equal right or equal share by the giver. He is supposed to arrest that giver. If I'm going to give 100 or 50, I'm supposed to be arrested with that my 100 shillings. And taken here, Woody was trying to compromise us. And this vehicle is actually breaching the COVID protocol. So it is an issue that we still need to debate about it on and off. We disagree with the police, they disagree with us. They're asking us, where those people who are giving us money, are they not coming from the community? But that cannot be a good defense. It cannot be a good defense. Yes, according to them, it's a good defense. Yes, it is also true that it is us who are giving them. But under what circumstance? Under what circumstance? So it is something that is still debatable, and we will continue to debate about it.
Now, somebody will actually ask that now, if at all a police officer has harassed you, what are the legal processes that you can actually sue a police officer? Is it possible for a public man to actually sue a police officer? Because sometimes, okay, not all of them, but sometimes some of them behave like they're above the law. And so somebody who's being harassed here, can he or she take a legal action towards a police officer? And if yes, how?
As we speak, I have two cases, recent cases. One of the cases was the one that was brought to me by a caller who was alleging that one of their family members was arrested at Gatito, and then because he did not wear a mask, he was unfortunately beaten by the police, according to the allegation. He became unconscious. He was rushed to Gatito Hospital. The Gatito Hospital transferred him to Sondo. The Sondo people transferred him to Kabwek in Kericho. So as we speak now, this man is still undergoing treatment, is still at Kabwek. We are following up. I've talked to the OCS Gatito. Actually, OCS Papunditi is saying that they have some substations. So according to him, that Gatito police post never had that kind of a person, but then they was checking through their substations. Another one was in Maseno, who died, who was assaulted and is alleged to have died in Maseno. I think it was aired. We are still following up. According to police, they were saying nothing was done to the suspect. These are cases that are there. You watched TV yesterday, one of the TV, I think Citizen. There was another case in Mombasa. There are another one in Migori. There are several cases that keep on coming on how police use excessive force, which again is provided that police can use force under Schedule 6 of the National Police Service. Police can use force, police can use firearm. In fact, the viewers who are listening to me, you can Google National Police Service Act 2011, Schedule 6. Police are given the right to use force. Why are they given right to use force? When they are protecting life or property, or is defending himself. Because police life can also be under serious threat. He is allowed to use force. He is allowed to use firearm. He is allowed under Schedule 6, Part A and Part B. But in the event that he has used firearm, it is cautioned that the purpose of using firearm is to disarm, not to kill.
The purpose of using firearm is to disarm.
To disarm.
Not to kill.
Not to kill. If the suspect has a weapon, maybe akona panga, maybe he has a gun, or maybe he has anything, the police is allowed to use firearm, but to disarm. So you either shoot the hand, shoot the leg so that he cannot run, so that the suspect can be arrested, but not to shoot at his forehead not to shoot is at his heart, where you shoot to kill. No, when it shoot to kill, then that particular and familiar of the suspect make a complaint, we will go to an inquest where we will have to find out why was he shot at the forehead, why was he shot at the heart, why was he actually killed, because that is not the intention of Schedule 6 of the National Police Service Act. But even under Schedule 6 Part C, I've said use of firearm, use of force, Part A, Part B. Part C, specific responsibility of superior officer. When an officer under you has either used force, has either used firearm, the specific responsibility remain with the superior officer. For example, if he is coming from Kondela, the OCS has a responsibility to ensure that that matter is reported, that all the processes of reporting is followed. But when you find police has shot somebody and left somebody to die there, that police has gone outside the law and it can be charged under Section 49 of the National Police Service Act. I want to repeat, Section 49 of the National Police Service Act. Whoever is hearing me can go